Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope everybody is doing well. I want to talk to y'all today about the new colonization or colonialism, and it's digital. I feel like this is a very important topic that we need to discuss because a lot of people cannot see the evolution of colonialism and white supremacy, and it has happened. It hasn't happened quickly. It's been a gradual thing, but now nobody's really hiding what's happening, and it's because it's part of the great reset. I'll say is one reason that I want to talk about it, and two, it black people can see it because we stay on everybody's mind, and it's like you know it's a new form of trauma. I guess that's the best way to say it because we used to be able to just use the internet and it was escapism for us. But now as the end of the age is here, the collapse of America and the West is here, and they got to have their villains to lash out at, and they got to have their boogeyman. Well, now we're splattered all over the internet, and things that we didn't have to worry about before, it's here now. Not only do we have to see our debasement, so to speak, of our people, we also have to be concerned about being tracked and monitored, our data collected, the information that they collect when we download and use apps, our televisions, our computers, our tablets, cell phones, everything. And so this system has found a new way to colonize the entire planet. And most people don't really understand what's happened, and we're all digital slaves now. And it, me, everybody. If we're using these platforms, we're digital slaves. Anything that you use for free, and if it's digital, you're a digital slave. They're getting something from you. They never give you anything without extracting from you. And so I want to talk about this. I want to do just a brief definition from Wikipedia before I start about what electronic colonialism is. So, electronic colonialism, sometimes abbreviated to e-colonialism, was conceived by Herbert Schiller as documented in his 1976 text communication and cultural domination. Now, do you see how long? I was 4 years old when this came out. So, do you see how long white supremacy works to evolve itself to become something that you cannot recognize so it can continue to do the same thing: subjugate, dominate, exterminate, like the devil, lie, kill, steal, and destroy. In this work, Schiller postulated the advent of a kind of technological colonialism, a system that subjugates third world and impoverished nations to the will of world powers such as the United States, Japan, and Germany, given the necessary importation of communication equipment and foreign produced software. So just think about how cell phones are everywhere now, and they want everybody to be decentralized, use cryptocurrency, have digital wallets, digital IDs. You can do business online in a gig economy. Everybody's a content creator. You order your stuff online on your phone. So all these things that they've sold to us as making life better and making things good really was about this new form of colonization. And instead of just colonizing us here in the United States and in North America, South America, the Caribbean, and in the West, now they have their claws everywhere. Not that they haven't, before, but it's a different type of colonization that allows us to be ensnared all at one time. So it says, as scholarship on this phenomenon has evolved, it has come to describe a scenario in which it has become normal for people to be exploited through data and other forms of technology. It draws parallels to colonialism in the historical sense, when territories and resources were appropriated, stolen, took by the wealthy and powerful whites for profit. They forgot whites, so I'm gonna put it in there, whites, because they love to sanitize their stuff. So let me read this sentence again. It draws parallels between colonialism in the historical sense, when territories and resources were appropriated by the wealthy and powerful whites for profit, with the help of raccoons from all other nations. So it says, similar to the expansion and establishment of territorial colonies and protectorates by European colonial powers during the new imperialism era, as exemplified by the scramble for Africa, which they're doing again, by the way. The information revolution ushered in a new era of socialization. Like the notion of traditional colonialism, the revolution urged multimedia conglomerates, which are empires, to regard audience demographics as territories and obtainable colonies. So, how they have us segmented by Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, black, white, Hispanic, there's legal, illegal, everything is segmented: child, adult, LGBT, straight, football, baseball, wig, natural, that just all kinds of foolery. Woke to chicanery. This is all the same. So it says, spurred into existence by the demise of communism, market globalization, and rapid innovation within the communication technology sector, electronic colonialist theory posits a contemporary form of neo-imperial reign. This is based not on expansive military acquisition and procurement, but rather on capturing the mind share. And this is why it is so important for you to stay steadfast in your word, to make sure you are being the best conspiracy theorist you can, using your critical thinking skills. And I'm going to tell y'all, it is something to being a conspiracy theorist, because it just demonstrates how being suspicious is very helpful in making you continue to think and exercise your mind and keep control of your own faculties, versus going along with whatever thing you like that makes you feel good, that makes you feel like you belong. And it makes you more susceptible to this electronic version of colonialism. So it says, and consumer habits of the target demographic, a psychological empire. According to the theory, as the world becomes more dependent on 21st century communication streams and lives become inextricably entangled with cyberspace and the Internet of Things. There's that Internet of Things I keep telling y'all about. The multimedia hegemonic control will scale in stride and continue to proliferate in the future. So I just wanted to share that with y'all, and I'll put a link to this in the description so that you can kind of get an understanding of what we're actually witnessing, what we're experiencing. It's the reason for all the cyber attacks and the hacks, and you got to do everything electronically, and the Doge, the years when Obama was in administration, was the president, and all these states were getting hacked. And you're like, who's hacking and why? Why are they hacking and what they stealing? Why are they stealing our social security numbers? Why are they stealing the hospital info? Why? Now you see why we gotta have electronic health records. Why we gotta register for this and enroll in this online. Why we have to use this app just to see the menu at a restaurant. Everything is about collecting your personal information off of your phone, off of your computer, off of your Wi-Fi router, off of your TV. Every single thing is about control. And a certain segment of people, Esau, Edom, who want to rule the world. They want to do it in a way now where you cannot escape. Now, I don't know how well this is going to work because people are not accustomed to being in captivity. Nobody but us. But we just going to see how this works. I don't think it's going to work. But anyway, we're just going to move on. Okay, so there's another article, and it says the internet as an extension of colonialism. So I'm going to read a little bit of this, and then I'm going to go to the last article. I'm not going to read all of these reads, the last two, because they're really long. So I'll just read a little bit of them, and I'll again put the links in the description, and you can leave me your feedback in the comment section. But I really want y'all to think about this. And I've been a huge advocate of disconnecting from the internet when things get really bad, and this is why I have been really adamant about being self-sufficient and not having to rely on power or the internet or whatever when things get bad, because I understand, they're going to try to force us as much as they can. And I don't know how we're going to do it, but you must resist, because compliance is consent to everything. And if this is a part of this no buy, no sell system, it is essential. You understand who the beast is, who's going to control everything. We can already see, whatever they're creating, whatever they're doing, it don't involve us. So we know we're not going to have anything to do with this, but we are going to be subjected to whatever they try to do or whatever they implement, because at the end of the day, everybody else is collateral damage as long as they control us, and we will be easily controlled because most of us don't even really understand what's going on. So that's why I want to talk about it. Hopefully you will share this with people who mindlessly use the internet, mindlessly scroll TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, or whatever social media platform, and just use it for trash. People who love apps and love technology, love tap to pay, or with using the phone, whatever, they need to understand what comes with that. And I know a lot of people are like, well, it don't matter, they already got my stuff anyway. That's not the point. The point is learning and stop being so submissive and going into captivity, the new captivity. You're already in captivity, but now more people are getting ready to join us in our captivity. So, if you can help somebody understand why it's important to sanitize your digital footprint, to not use social media and phones, and try to do other things outside of use electronics all the time, because they're tracking everything that we do, and it's for a reason, and you'll learn why after these articles. So this article is the internet has an extension of colonialism. So it says globally, digital technologies and the internet have been increasingly normalized, seeing Western states dominate cyberspace and technological developments. As such, questions have arisen regarding the prominence of Western bias at both the developmental and implementational level, leading to negative implications for non-Western users and Western users who are not black. Who are not white, because it's impacting people who are not white. This article draws upon the concept of digital colonization. Digital colonialism, seeking to address the potential emergence of colonial attitudes towards integration and usage of digital technologies and the internet. So we already see that. We see that how we communicate when black people try to talk about things that impact black people, we are blacklisted, we are removed, we don't have freedom of speech really. They use algorithms to hide our stuff. They don't give us notifications. Like I don't even get notifications when people respond to my videos now. So if I don't make a concerted effort to just go in, like it's really complicated. You have to go into all the way into YouTube, go find community, and then I have probably 30, 40 comments that I haven't responded to. Some of them are weeks old, but if they would do like they used to when I first opened my account, if somebody responded to something, then I would just get a notification and then I could reply right to that comment and do it from my phone. But because we don't control any of these platforms and they can, control, they being the powers that be, control our activity on it because we don't own it. We can't control it. They don't even really want us employed in the field. You can see easily that it is another form of colonization and it is not going to serve us well. So that's why, again, I've been talking to us about not using social media, not using the internet as much when things fall apart and when they come back online, because it is going to be a form of captivity. So if anything ever goes down, make it a habit to not use the internet. If the power goes out and you have a phone, you still got internet, do something else. Take a nap, read a book, go clean up, do something. But learn how to get away from using your devices, because the time is coming where we're going to have to ditch these things, because they've already shown us it's going to be the gateway to our captivity. And because we don't know how long we're going to be going through this stuff, you need to be trying to condition your mind to be free. If mentally you can be free, because right now we are physically in captivity. We have no way of escaping. They won't let you make enough money to leave, and if they do, like, it's just a whole thing. So now everybody's in captivity. Everybody is going to experience the same thing, and it's just horrific to witness. But again, we need to talk about it because it's happening right here, right now. So it says the use of technology across the world has increased rapidly in recent decades, resulting in a reshaping of how individuals and states interact, function, and develop. As such, our world is now heavily interconnected and sees digital technologies impacting nations' ability to thrive politically, socially, and economically. The spread of digital technologies has been met with the belief that technological innovation could help liberate and progress the countries of the African continent to catch them up with the West. Like they asked to be caught up. However, the internet and digital technologies such as mobile phones and the process of colonialism can be understood as historically intertwined, as both have been developed and implemented with Western states and organizations as the driving forces at play. Meaning, globally, we have seen the integration and independency of the internet and digital technologies spread from the West and imposed on other states. So this is what y'all need to understand. These other nations that are participating in this WEF stuff or whatever, this stuff has been forced on them. Like they have been given an offer that they really cannot refuse. The leaders can, or they're going to be deleted. So understand, the digital colonization is the final frontier before things end, and we're seeing it. This is how the digital currency is going to be implemented. You're already seeing it with digital ID, digital wallets, everything they're trying to get us to do digitally, and people are resisting, but then they'll have some catastrophic incident where you can't use your bank account if you don't enroll digitally. Like it's happening all over the country, but just know this stuff has been imposed by these Western nations on the rest of the world. They're not willingly going along with it. They didn't create it. They didn't even want it. They didn't even need it. So understand where this stuff is coming from so that you can learn how to fight. Say it like that. So, the African continent in particular, these technologies spread often through the likes of government sponsored charity initiatives like Computers for Africa, a United Kingdom based charity who provides schools in African nations with computer supplies, or through the likes of Free Basics, a mobile app developed by Facebook allowing users to access a small selection of websites that can be viewed without paying for mobile data, which was heavily criticized for encouraging users to pay for digital technologies, but also due to the fact that the websites offered were majority in English rather than the native language of the country. So you see how slick this stuff is? It's very sinister. However, it must be acknowledged that colonialism as a term is situational and often sees blanketed use to describe the experiences of many different individuals and countries. And so, as with colonialism, each African country will have a different experience with digital technologies. So I'm going to read one more paragraph and then I'm going to go to the other article. It says, from the normalization of digital technologies across the globe has stemmed a digital divide, understood as the unequal access to and usage of new technology. This has seen those in poverty across Western states disadvantaged, but also throughout the global spectrum. Less affluent countries are also struggling. Unlike the forms of technology, the internet provides African nations the ability to interact on an international platform with the rest of the world. So this is kind of like how the Europe came in with the Bible and left with all the resources. So they're getting ready to do the same thing again. This is exactly what's happening again. This time, some of the African nations are waking up and they are pushing back. But I would just wanted y'all to think about how they're forcing these nations to do things digitally that they don't want and they don't need. It's not for their best interest, and how they're using this. They're selling this as help. It's going to make things better. We're going to be able to monitor this. We're going to have this. And at the end of the day, it's just another form of enslavement. But this time, they get to enslave everybody and take the resources. So it's really important that you pay attention to what's happening on the continent, because that is going to tell you, it's going to tell and show you what the plan is for the future. So it says, unlike the other forms of technology, the internet provides African nations with the ability to interact on an international platform with the rest of the world. I got to blow this up because I can't see. Overcoming the previous barriers that have hindered the continent. However, the digital technologies and the realm of cyberspace came late to the African continent, largely due to the aftermath of colonialism and the countries focusing on state building. Nevertheless, the delay in the progress has not meant digital technologies and the internet have not progressed at all within African nations, as highlighted through the use of mobile phones and social media in the Arab Spring, or in Nigeria, where their Nollywood industry has been exported to large Western media streaming sites. So this is important. And I said this years ago, probably about 6 years ago now. I just noticed that we start having a huge African movie presence. And I was like, what is happening? We can't even hardly get nothing where our people are in movies and film and whatever, documentaries. And here they got Africans. So I just knew it was a replacement thing. There's a reason for everything that they do. And so now you see why. So they are making us comfortable with seeing Africans because Africans going to be seeing us, or they have been seeing us. And it's just a way for erosion of culture. That's the best way to say it. And to keep an eye on every group. And when you need to, you can cause those groups to fight each other. So it's just, it's weird. So nevertheless, this delay in the progress has not meant digital technologies and the internet have not progressed at all within the African nations, as highlighted through the use of the mobile phones and social media in the Arab Spring, or Nigeria, where their Nollywood industry has been exported to large Western media streaming sites. However, due to the origins, implementation, and development of digital technologies and the internet, cyberspace, and cyberculture have arguably become a product of the West. Cyberculture, the way in which people perform online, can at times be perceived as a reflection of Western morality and perceptions of right and wrong. This mimics behaviors deemed desirable in Western culture, which historically was carried out on a global scale through the process of colonialism. The sub-Saharan region of Africa has been described as a technological desert, and similar to previous technological revolutions, this process began in the West and was imposed upon the less developed regions of the world. So y'all know, sub-Saharan Africa is where we likely came from. So there's a reason, I think, for the exclusion, but it's not going to, whatever they do, it's not going to work. But anyway, I'm going to go over to the last story. And this is digital colonialism, the evolution of the U.S. empire. So it says in 2020, billionaires made out like bandits. Jeff Bezos' personal holdings surged from 113 to 184 billion. Elon Musk briefly eclipsed Bezos with a net worth rise from 27 billion to over 185 billion. For the bourgeoisie presiding over big tech corporations, life is grand. Yet while the expanded dominance of these corporations in their domestic markets is the subject of numerous critical analysis, their global reach is a fact seldom discussed, especially by dominant intellectuals in the American empire. In fact, once we investigate the mechanics and numbers, it becomes apparent that big tech is not only global in scope, it is fundamentally colonial in character and dominated by the United States. This phenomenon is called digital colonialism. We live in a world where digital colonialism now risks becoming as significant and far-reaching a threat to the global South as classic colonialism was in previous centuries. Sharp increases in inequality, the rise of state corporate surveillance, and sophisticated police and military technologies are just a few of the consequences of this new world order. The phenomenon may sound new to some, but over the course of the past decades, it has become entrenched in the global status quo without a considerably strong counter power movement. The situation will get much worse. And that's why, I always promote y'all being free thinkers, thinking critically, being conspiracy theorists, doing digital detoxes, just being mindful that at some point you're going to have to ditch this stuff because, as you can see, they're telling you where things are going and they're telling you who's in charge of it. So this is a common bank has been formed to service FaneCoin, and an online fair market with goods and services denominated in Faircoin. By controlling this cryptocurrency, Faircoup is able to fund common sense commons-centered counter-capitalist initiatives like Freedom Coop, which offers legal and banking services to self-employed individuals seeking to make a living outside the exploitative grip of capital or the state. The above cases may seem disparate, but they share a common interest in using cryptographic ledger technology, often referred to as blockchain, as a way of rethinking the valuation inherent in market-based pricing. By offering new non-capitalist ways of measuring and pursuing values, blockchain promises the ability to pursue an alternative economic path to capitalism as we know it. Well, we know capitalism don't work. So I don't know why we're trying to go back there, but okay. Assuming the social and political power to do so, what does such an endeavor look like? So, digital colonialism is the use of digital technology for political, economic, and social domination of another nation or territory. And when we say nation, you can think of land or you could think of people. So, when they talk about nations, also consider that nations are actually people. So, they're talking about dominating people of a landmass. Under classic colonialism, Europeans, let me say this again, Europeans seized and settled foreign land, stole and settled foreign land, installed infrastructure like military forts, seaports, and railways, deployed gunboats for economic penetration and military conquest, constructed heavy machinery, and exploited labor to extract raw materials. Anything different today? Nope. Erected panoptic structures to police workers, marshaled the engineers needed for advanced economic exploitation, chemists for extracting minerals, siphoned out indigenous knowledge for manufacturing processes, shipped the raw materials back to the mother country for the production of manufactured goods, undermined global South markets with cheap manufactured goods, perpetrated dependency of peoples and nations in the global South in an unequal global division of labor, and expanded market diplomat an expanded market. And then it says diplomatic and military domination for profit and plunder. In other words, colonialism depended upon ownership and control of territory and infrastructure, the extraction of labor, knowledge and commodities, and the exercise of state power. This process evolved over centuries, with new technologies added into the mix as they were developed. By the late 19th century, submarine cables facilitated telegraphic communication in service of the British Empire. New developments in recording, archiving, and organizing information were exploited by U.S. military intelligence, first used in the conquest of the Philippines. So anyway, I'm not going to read any more of this because this is a very long article. Both of the articles were very long, but I suggest you read them because there's so much good stuff in there. It's very helpful for you to understand what's happening now on the continent of Africa, what's going on in Europe, what's going on here in the US, what is going on in the global South, why everybody is trying to break free of this colonizer energy that the West has and the US has. So it's very important for you to understand what's happening because we are collateral damage, but we are also going to be victims of this. So if you understand, hopefully you'll be able to process it and rethink the ways that you use the internet and your devices and be comfortable with letting those things go once the shit hits the fan and everybody is in the dark and fool. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Leave your comments below in the comment section. Share what you think about digital colonialism or like I say, digital colonization. We don't have much time, in my opinion, to understand what's happening, but I thought this was a very good way to put into words what is coming, because it's a new type of slavery on the horizon, and most people don't realize it. But in able for it to fully go into effect, you got to tear the old stuff down. And so we're witnessing the tearing down of the old system and the old ways, and a pivot to the new ways. So buckle your seatbelts and get some knowledge and understanding so that you will not be deceived by the adversary when they come tell you this is going to be good for you. It's going to be the best. All right. This is Marley K. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload new content. Follow me on Odyssey and Rumble and on Instagram. The links are in the description. If you'd like to support the channel, please check the description box at the very top, and there will be links so that you can donate to my Venmo, my coffee, as well as my emergency GoFundMe campaign. I haven't met my goal yet, so if you could support a sister, I really appreciate it. Lastly, continue to prep, continue to pray, continue to seek the Most High, obey those laws, statutes, and commandments. Repent daily for sins of commission and sins of omission. Pray, have real life, heart-to-heart conversation with the Most High, and help Him understand, your need to know as much as you can about this stuff so that you can avoid the wiles of the enemy, and snares and traps, because they're everywhere. Our captivity is supposed to be ending. So if you feel like you're in captivity, there is no way that you should be participating in this digital colonialism. You should not be susceptible to it. So knowledge is power, and I want y'all to know as much as you can, so when it's time for things to happen, you won't be caught off guard and unaware. All right, so this is Marley K. Thank y'all so much for staying to the end of this video. Links to all these stories will be in the description box. Love y'all, and I am out.